They radiate beauty, strength, and undeniable confidence. But behind those captivating faces lies a truth most people could never imagine. These are 15 black celebrities who underwent powerful gender transitions. Born into a world that saw them as something entirely different, they fought against expectations, rejection, and even danger just to live as their true selves. Their journeys were anything but easy. Nights spent without shelter, families who turned away, the sting of violence, and the weight of public judgment. Yet, through it all, they refused to break. Each scar became a symbol of courage, each step a victory toward authenticity. What you're about to discover isn't just about transformation. It's about resilience, self-love, and the human spirit's unshakable will to be free. So prepare yourself, because these untold stories won't just shock you. They'll move you, inspire you, and change the way you see strength forever. Dominique Jackson. Dominique Jackson's story is the definition of transformation and triumph. Born in 1975 in Tobago, she rose from the shadows of homelessness to reign as the undisputed queen of the ballroom scene. Before the world knew her as the fierce and commanding Electra Abundance on FX's Pose, Dominique's life was a battlefield, scarred by rejection, pain, and an unbreakable will to survive. As a young girl, she carried the heavy burden of stigma. When she came out in the early 1990s, her family abandoned her, and the very community she loved cast her aside. With nowhere to go, she fled to the United States, clutching nothing but heartbreak and a fragile dream of belonging. What awaited her, however, was a harsh reality. Cold nights on park benches, shelters that refused to recognize her identity, and the crushing loneliness of invisibility. Then came the ballroom. Under the dazzling lights, Dominique found more than a stage. She found herself. Her presence was electric, her spirit unstoppable. She wasn't just performing. She was reclaiming her power, transforming pain into art and defiance. When a friend once told her, "Turn your wounds into strength. If the world won't accept you, build your own," those words became her gospel. And build she did. Her portrayal of Electra wasn't just acting. It was her truth, raw and unapologetic. Off-screen, she became a powerful advocate for LGBTQ+ rights, giving voice to those who had long been silenced. Dominique Jackson's journey isn't just about fame. It's about courage, identity, and the unstoppable force of self-love. Today, when she steps into the spotlight, she does so as a woman who has stared down darkness and emerged radiant. She stands as living proof that even the most shattered beginnings can be rebuilt into a legacy of strength, pride, and triumph. Angelica Ross. From rejection to Broadway glory. Born in 1980 in Wisconsin, Angelica Ross's life began in the shadows of rejection. A young woman cast aside by her own family simply for daring to live as her true self. But from those ashes of pain, she rose, fierce, fearless, and determined to be seen. She didn't just chase her dreams. She rebuilt them from nothing. Angelica's journey of transition began in her 20s, a decision that cost her everything: her home, her family, and her sense of belonging. She faced nights alone, the kind that echo with silence and doubt. She waited tables, modeled, did whatever it took to survive. Yet every setback became fuel for her fight. She refused to let society write her story for her. Self-taught in computer programming, she used her brilliance to carve out a new path. In 2014, she founded TransTech Social Enterprises, a groundbreaking platform that opened doors for other transgender people in tech, giving others the second chance she never had. But Angelica wasn't done breaking barriers. Hollywood took notice. With her stunning performances in Pose and American Horror Story, she became a symbol of power, redefining what it means to be a transgender actor in an industry that once shut its doors to people like her. Then came 2022, the year she made history. Stepping onto the Broadway stage as Roxy Hart in Chicago, she commanded the spotlight with every step, every note, every breath. When the curtain fell that night, The audience erupted in thunderous applause. It wasn't just for her performance, it was for her journey. A woman once abandoned now stood radiant before the world, a living testament to resilience. Angelica Ross turned rejection into revolution. From the margins to the main stage, she proved that no dream is too bold, no obstacle too great, and no voice too small to change history. Peppermint. Peppermint's journey is nothing short of revolutionary. Born in Pennsylvania in 1980, she once lived unseen, an invisible soul in a world that often punished difference. From years of loneliness, bullying, and heartbreak, she rose to become a trailblazer. The first openly transgender contestant on RuPaul's Drag Race, and later, the first trans woman to star in a leading role on Broadway in Head Over Heels. Her transition began in the early 2000s, a time when society showed little compassion toward transgender people. As a young girl, Peppermint faced ridicule and rejection, enduring nights of silent tears. Performing in small bars wasn't just her career. It was her refuge, a sacred space where she turned pain into performance and sorrow into song. Every time she stepped on stage, she wasn't just entertaining. She was reclaiming her dignity, pushing back against every cruel word that had ever cut her down. When she appeared on RuPaul's Drag Race in 2017 and came out publicly as transgender, she broke barriers that had silenced drag queens and trans performers for generations. Her raw honesty, fearless spirit, and magnetic presence made her more than a contestant. She became a voice for those who had none. Her greatest triumph came in 2018, when she stepped on a Broadway as the lead in Head Over Heels. It wasn't just a role, it was a declaration. Every wound, every moment of rejection, every ounce of her struggle poured into that performance. She embodied resilience, truth, and pride, not only for herself, but for the entire LGBTQ plus community. Peppermint is not just an entertainer, she's a warrior. Her story stands as a testament to the power of authenticity and the beauty of self-acceptance. She reminds the world that no wall of prejudice is too strong to break, and no dream is too distant when you dare to live your truth. Laverne Cox. Laverne Cox's journey is a breathtaking story of survival, transformation, and triumph against all odds. Born in Mobile, Alabama, a place bound by deep-rooted conservatism, she grew up enduring unimaginable pain. Mocked, beaten, and rejected, not just by her peers, but even by the mother she loved most. Young Laverne found herself suffocating under the weight of rejection. Yet, instead of collapsing, she found refuge in art. Through dance, she discovered her escape, a way to speak when words brought only pain. By the late 1990s, while attending college in Birmingham, Laverne took one of the bravest steps of her life, beginning her transition. It was a journey filled with heartbreak. Her mother's refusal to accept her identity was a wound that cut deeper than any insult, fueled by fear of how the world would judge. But Laverne refused to surrender. She embraced her truth, piece by piece, on the stage that became her sanctuary. Her leap to New York changed everything. It was there she fought her way into the spotlight, eventually landing the groundbreaking role of Sophia Bursett on Orange is the New Black. That moment wasn't just a victory, it was history. Laverne became the first openly transgender woman ever nominated for an Emmy, her talent and courage forcing Hollywood and the world to confront its biases. She graced the covers of Time, Cosmopolitan, and countless others, not as a token, but as a symbol of limitless possibility. And then, the most powerful moment of all, her mother, once a source of rejection, finally stood beside her in pride. That reconciliation wasn't just personal, it was universal. It reminded the world that acceptance can heal even the deepest wounds. From a young girl silenced by cruelty to an icon who gave voice to millions, Laverne Cox didn't just change her own destiny, she redefined what it means to rise. She turned pain into purpose, fear into power, and became a living testament to courage, authenticity, and the beauty of becoming who you truly are. T.S. Madison. T.S. Madison, from internet sensation to unstoppable trailblazer. Born in 1977 in Miami, Florida, T.S. Madison's story is nothing short of revolutionary. Once an ostracized transgender woman struggling just to be seen, she transformed her pain into power and became one of the most influential voices in modern entertainment. Her rise from viral internet fame to mainstream success wasn't just a personal victory, it was a cultural breakthrough. In the late 1990s, Madison began living openly as her true self. What followed were years of rejection, cruel stares, and constant discrimination, not only from society, but, at times, even from within the LGBTQ+ community. She endured homelessness, financial hardship, and countless closed doors. Yet she never gave up. Everything changed in the early 2010s when her viral video, New Weave 22, exploded across social media. What started as comedy became a bold statement of confidence and self-acceptance. That clip didn't just make people laugh, it made them listen. Overnight, Madison became a voice for the unheard. Then came the defining moment. The T.S. Madison Experience premiered in 2021, making her the first Black transgender woman in history to headline and produce her own reality series. No longer a side character or stereotype, she stood proudly at the center, rewriting the rules of representation. Madison's journey challenged Hollywood to see beyond labels and recognize pure talent and determination. It's almost unbelievable that the same woman who was once denied work simply because she was transgender now leads a thriving media empire, employing over 50 people, most of them from the LGBTQ+ community. T.S. Madison is living proof that rejection can become redirection, pain can forge power, and one unapologetic voice can spark a movement. She's more than an entertainer. She's a symbol of strength, authenticity, and triumph for a generation that refuses to be silenced. Janet Mock, blood, tears, and the rise of a Hollywood queen. Born in Hawaii, Janet Mock is more than a gifted writer and director. She is a force of nature. Her story is one of courage carved from struggle, a tale of breaking chains in a world that tried to silence her. As the first transgender woman to work behind the camera on major shows like Pose, Janet didn't just open doors, she kicked them down. But before the lights and fame, her journey was a storm of pain, sacrifice, and unrelenting resilience. In the early 1990s, while still in high school, Janet began her transition, a decision that came with unbearable challenges. Growing up in poverty, she knew her truth from a young age, but living it came at a cost. With no safety net or financial support, she turned to sex work to fund her gender-affirming surgery, facing judgment, fear, and danger head-on. Inspired by her idol, Janet Jackson, whose strength and independence mirrored her own dreams. She saved every dollar until, at just 18, she flew to Thailand for the surgery that would change her life. It wasn't about vanity. It was about freedom, claiming the right to exist authentically in a world that refused to see her. But even after the scars healed, the battles continued. Janet faced stares, slurs, and rejection, yet she never broke. Instead, she transformed her pain into purpose. Her 2014 memoir, Redefining Realness, became a beacon of truth, giving voice to countless transgender people who had long been unheard. And with Pose, she didn't just tell stories. She created a revolution in Hollywood, standing proudly as both artist and activist. Today, Janet Mock stands as living proof that resilience can rewrite destiny. From a young girl fighting to survive to a Hollywood powerhouse commanding her own narrative, she embodies what it means to rise through the blood and tears and become a queen on her own terms. Her life isn't a fairy tale. It's a triumph of authenticity, power, and unbreakable grace. Brian Michael Smith. Brian Michael Smith, the first Black transgender man to shatter Hollywood's glass ceiling and carve his name into television history. Born in 1983 in Michigan, Brian isn't just an actor. He's a movement, a voice, and a symbol of strength for a generation that needed to see itself reflected on screen. As a child, he seemed unstoppable, a gifted athlete winning medals, trophies, and applause. But behind the victories was a quiet storm. Brian carried a secret battle within himself, feeling trapped in a body that didn't match his truth. In his early 20s, he made the brave decision to embrace his real identity, a choice that would test his courage in a world where being both black and transgender came with unimaginable barriers. When he stepped into Hollywood, the doors didn't swing open easily. Roles for transgender people were nearly non-existent, and when they did appear, they were often written as jokes or tragedies. But Brian refused to be defined by stereotypes. He demanded authenticity and delivered it. His breakthrough on Queen Sugar made history, portraying one of the first genuine depictions of a black transgender man on television. Then came 911, Lone Star, where audiences met a strong, heroic firefighter whose power came not from his identity, but from his humanity. Through every performance, Brian Michael Smith did more than act. He educated, inspired, and redefined what masculinity and representation could look like. He became living proof that authenticity isn't a weakness. It's the truest form of power. Today, he stands as a pioneer, a man who turned his truth into a torch, lighting the path for others to follow. Alexander Gray. Alexander Gray, a name that embodies both struggle and triumph. Born in 1991 in Chicago, Alexandra's early life was a storm of heartbreak and uncertainty. Growing up in the foster care system, she never knew stability. Some nights meant shelter floors, others meant the cold streets. And as she began her journey of transitioning, the weight of social stigma only deepened her isolation. With no family, no support, and nowhere to turn, Alexandra had only her own resilience to depend on. But through every sleepless night and every cruel whisper, she refused to give up. Music and performance became her refuge, her way of surviving when the world turned its back. What began as a fight for survival became a mission of self-discovery. Against all odds, she rose from homelessness to the heart of Hollywood, lighting up screens in acclaimed shows like Empire and How to Get Away with Murder. Today, Alexandra Gray is far more than a talented actress. She's a trailblazer, a living symbol of courage, authenticity, and hope. Her journey is proof that pain can be transformed into power, that visibility can heal, and that every person deserves to be seen for who they truly are. Alexandra didn't just break into Hollywood. She broke barriers, inspiring countless others to rise from the shadows and claim their own light. Michaela J. Rodriguez. Michaela J. Rodriguez didn't just make history, she rewrote it. Born in 1991 in Newark, New Jersey, MJ rose from humble beginnings to become a symbol of courage, authenticity, and transformation. In 2022, she shattered one of Hollywood's highest glass ceilings, becoming the first transgender woman ever to win a Golden Globe. That moment wasn't just a personal victory. It was a thunderous declaration that the world was finally ready to see trans talent shine in its full brilliance. But her path to glory was anything but easy. In the early 2010s, while quietly wrestling with her identity and acceptance, MJ made a decision that would change her life forever, to live in her truth no matter the cost. She faced rejection, prejudice, and heartbreak, even from those closest to her. Yet through every setback, she found strength. Through every wound, she built resilience. Her breakout role as Blanca Evangelista on Pose didn't just make her a star. It made her a voice for a generation. On screen, she carried the pain, beauty, and hope of an entire community, bringing the ballroom world to life with raw authenticity. Off-screen, she broke barriers again, taking center stage as Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors, proving that talent has no gender, only power. Michaela J. Rodriguez is more than an actress. She's a revolution wrapped in grace. Her journey reminds us that representation isn't just important, it's necessary. And her story stands as living proof that when you dare to be yourself, you don't just make history, you change it forever. Amaya Scott. Amaya Scott was never just another face in Hollywood. She was a trailblazer who broke barriers and redefined beauty itself. Born in 1988 in New Orleans, she became the first transgender model to truly shake the industry, admired not just for her stunning looks, but for her unshakable courage. Long before fame, at just 17, Amaya made a life-changing decision to live her truth in a world that wasn't ready to accept it. Growing up in the Deep South in the early 2000s meant facing ignorance, prejudice, and danger at every turn. But Amaya refused to hide. She stood tall through loneliness, rejection, and heartbreak, each step carving her path toward visibility and self-acceptance. Her breakthrough role on the hit series Star wasn't just a career milestone, it was a cultural moment. Suddenly, Amaya wasn't just a model or an actress. She became a symbol of strength, authenticity, and hope for the entire LGBTQ+ community. Today, she stands as more than a glamorous presence on screen. She's a fearless advocate, using her voice to fight for equality, dignity, and representation. Amaya Scott's story reminds us that real beauty isn't about perfection. It's about courage and the power to inspire generations by simply being yourself. Gia Banks. Gia Banks, a name that burns bright in the world of ballroom. A dancer, activist, and spiritual mother, she didn't just walk into the ballroom scene at 19. She set it ablaze. But Gia's story was never just about the art of movement. It was about survival, love, and transformation. To countless transgender individuals, Gia became more than a performer. She became a lifeline, a mother, a warrior, and a protector who refused to let society silence those like her. Born into poverty and rejection, Gia's early life was defined by pain and perseverance. With no family to lean on, she faced the cruel sting of prejudice long before she even had a chance to dream. Her transition was marked by both beauty and brutality, a fight to become the woman she was always meant to be. And when the world turned its back, ballroom embraced her. It gave her a stage, a voice, and, most importantly, a family. Through heartbreak and hardship, Gia stood tall. She became a beacon, fighting for medical access, legal aid, and dignity for the marginalized. Her grace on the runway mirrored her resilience in life. Gia Banks transformed ballroom from a competition into a sanctuary. To this day, she remains a blazing light for every soul still searching for belonging in the dark. Maya Taylor. Maya Taylor. From the unforgiving streets of Texas to the dazzling lights of Hollywood, her journey is a story of survival, courage, and transformation. Born in 1991, she grew up facing not only the harsh realities of poverty, but also the painful weight of being a transgender woman in a deeply conservative world. Before Hollywood ever knew her name, Maya knew struggle. She endured homelessness, took on odd jobs just to eat, and spent nights wondering if she'd ever find her place in a world that refused to see her. But destiny had other plans. A chance encounter with director Sean Baker would change everything. He cast her in Tangerine, a film shot entirely on an iPhone, yet destined to make history. In that moment, Maya went from fighting to survive to redefining what representation could look like. Her performance didn't just earn her the prestigious Gotham Award, it shattered barriers. Maya Taylor became the first transgender actress to win the honor, turning her pain into power and her story into a symbol of hope. Tangerine wasn't just a movie. It was a movement, proof that resilience, authenticity, and raw truth can break through even the coldest walls of prejudice. Her journey asks us one question. How does a young transgender woman from Texas rise above rejection, stigma, and fear to claim her light? The answer is found in her strength, a strength that turned hardship into art, invisibility into impact, and a once silenced voice into one that now echoes through the halls of Hollywood. Maya Taylor's story reminds us all, no matter who you are or where you come from, your truth can be your greatest revolution. Monroe Bergdorf. Monroe Bergdorf isn't just a model, she's a movement. Born in the UK in 1987, She shattered barriers as the first transgender woman to front a L'Oreal UK campaign, a milestone that made history and sparked global conversation. But behind that dazzling achievement was a story of grit, courage, and constant resistance. Her journey began in university, when she started her transition, but the real fight began once she entered the ruthless world of fashion. In an industry obsessed with perfection, Monroe dared to speak the uncomfortable truth about racism and transphobia. When L'Oreal cut ties with her after she condemned racial injustice, it was meant to silence her. Instead, it unleashed her power. Monroe rose from the controversy like a phoenix, transforming pain into purpose. She became an unshakable advocate for transgender rights, gender equality, and online safety, using her voice to challenge systems that once rejected her. Every attack made her louder. Every setback made her stronger. Today, Monroe Bergdorf stands as living proof that resilience burns brighter than hate. A fearless warrior who turned rejection into revolution and showed the world that authenticity is the most powerful beauty of all. Cece McDonald, from a victimized prisoner to a symbol of unshakable trans resilience. Cece McDonald's story is one of courage in the face of injustice. Born in 1989, she isn't just an activist. She's living proof that strength can rise from unimaginable pain. In 2011, Cece's life changed forever. On what should have been a simple walk home, she was brutally attacked by a group of men, targeted for being a black transgender woman. Fighting for her life, Cece defended herself. But instead of being protected as the victim, she was charged and convicted of murder. The justice system failed her, exposing the deep prejudice that still runs through society's veins. Inside prison, Cece faced daily threats, isolation, and cruelty. Yet, she refused to be broken. She transformed her suffering into strength, her silence into a voice that demanded to be heard. Her powerful story inspired the acclaimed documentary Free Cece, igniting national conversations about racism, transphobia, and systemic injustice. Cece didn't just fight for herself. She became a voice for countless others silenced by discrimination. Her journey turned her into a pioneer, a fighter, and a beacon of hope for an entire community that's too often ignored. Cece's story reminds us that the people we celebrate today aren't just stars or activists. They're survivors who've carried burdens most can't imagine. Black transgender individuals like her endure battles from every direction, from society, from institutions, even from within their own communities. They deserve to be remembered not just for their beauty or fame, but for their unbreakable spirit, their courage to live authentically, and their fight for dignity against all odds. Now that you know Cece's story, what do you think of her strength and resilience? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful, untold stories like this one.